Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to report a trade.
We have a trade to announce.
Tails.
Let's go.
How about this trade that just went down?
Wow.
Okay, so the rumor's true. Okay, we just traded you. Okay, we traded you to the Indianapolis Colts. All right. So, you okay?
Nah, I want to call my grandmother.
You can call your grandmother? Okay, this hasn't hit the papers or anything like that. Okay, well, why don't we do a little business first, okay? Before you call grandma, okay?
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back into another episode of the 4D Chess Dynasty Trade Show. Episode 31. As you can see, we don't have Mike here today. Mike is not here. Mike is off this week. He's working nights. But we got him covered. And not only do we got him covered, 4D has a treat for y'all because we have live on camera one of the coats, one of the people that Mike and I started with, one of our best friends in the space by far. Garvin is in the building to do the trade show with us. Ray, what's going on, my guy?
Man, you know, I'm sure people tuning in. We're hoping to get that big grizzly beard, you know, Mike, and you know, you got the black dude, you got the sub in, but this is exciting, man. I remember when y'all started out on the Destination Devy YouTube channel, and y'all have taken this over and made it your own thing, your process, your way. It's fun to see the growth and maturation of you as a creator, of Mike as a creator of this show, and how much traction you guys get on the trade show. So I Dynasty a little bit different than the 4D regulars may be used to. So this will be interesting to talk through some of these deals tonight.
Yes, sir, man. And you know what? I love Mike and miss having Mike on here, but it is always extremely nice to get some fresh perspective from someone that thinks a little different than Mike and I. So Ray, as you know, everybody watching, we start off with one of the deals of our own. Mike's not going to be here to defend or whatever with this trade, but we're going to go ahead and look at one of Mike's deals to start it off. So when we look at this deal here, Ray, when I look at Mike's deal, so Mike is giving away Mike Evans, Christian Kirk, and DeAndre Carter. He is receiving a 23 first, a 24 first, a 25 second, and a 25 third. Now, to fill you in, those are basically the reason those 25 picks are in there. These are the only picks T-Rock really had left. T-Rock is full going for it. This is a best ball league, as you can assume. It's start 13. There's 2 tight ends. To give you a little bit of a lay here, T-Rock's team, we did this auction. T-Rock gets hammered, man, and he blows all his money early. So he blows all his money while he's drunk, and we tell him that his team is, you know, way too light, you don't have enough depth. But he landed a bunch of studs, and in 2 tight end, Ray, he has Kelsey and Andrews. His quarterbacks are Lamar. I'm trying to remember his other quarterback. He's got another top 5 warp guy. I think it's Mahomes. The problem is he had Cooper Kupp. So those 5 guys, even in start 13 with 2 tight ends, were helping him really go ham. And Cooper Kupp goes down. He's looking for a way to make it right. This is the trade he gets done here. Knowing all that, Mike is kind of in this spot where he's a contender. He's going to make the playoffs, but it's not gone as well as he probably wants. I think he's in 5th or 6th place, so he's in the playoffs. But this move here, knowing all those little details, what are your thoughts, man?
You know, for me, I always start off with who got the better player in the deal? Who's the best player in the deal? That's just how I start off. And Adam, I think the best player in the deal, if I'm like Christian Kirk, but even then, like it's, I would rather have, like, if I'm looking at this deal 1 for 1, Christian Kirk for a 23 first or a 24 first, that's solid. Mm-hmm. Mike Evans for a first. I don't really care about the 25 picks right now. Like, I don't. Like, I think they're worthless at this point in time. I can get 25 picks whenever. I don't care. But the fact that he got the second and 25 and the third and 25, whatever. I'm just looking at this deal. The 2 first for DeAndre Carter's fine in best ball. I think he's a good little best ball asset. If he scores, you're good. But Mike Evans has been awful this year. He's been awful. I don't envision that changing anytime soon. Christian Kirk has been solid, but if I lose a Christian Kirk off my team, I'm not tripping. I'm not losing sleep over it. Those picks are only going to accrue in value. The 24 class is absolutely loaded. So for me, in the position that Mike is, what I like about this deal is he's hedging. He's like, okay, I might be in the playoffs, but I'm probably not going to win it. And if I'm not going to win it, let me find some capital. I like Mike's side of the deal, man. Give me the 2 first, give me the second and the third. Really don't care about those two. Those 2 first rounders for me are good enough to move Mike Evans, Christian Kirk, and DeAndre Carter.
I'm with you here, actually. I'll say this. If I'm contending and I know I have the right pieces, like if I'm really deep loaded on a best ball team, I could understand why you do it. One of my problems was, as we talked about, as I was telling you the team breakdown, like he just lost Lamar and he's going to miss him for a week. He needs to get a bye still. Right now he's in third. So like if he doesn't have Lamar, and I told you how shallow this team is, Kirk and Evans are dope, man, even in best ball. Like they're both guys that could win you weeks. But if you don't have that quarterback going and you don't earn the bye, it may all be for naught. And then like Kirk for the single 23 first, if you know that it's later, like 110 or later, I'm good with that.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. I'm
with you there. And I think the thing is with Evans in the 24 first, knowing how his team's built, like that one gets really risky for me, right? Where it's like, I don't know what my team build's going to be like. And I think what you're saying ultimately is really Mike is probably getting off of non-essential assets here and getting first that are going to accrue value, and he can do a lot of stuff with. Speaking of which, as you see, T-Rock, he's kind of flexing here, thinking he got a good deal done down there with the always be closing. I left a couple messages because guess what, Ray? This is the 4D Chess Dynasty Trade Show, and you know what happens with picks. We 4D stuff.
I'm assuming Mike took those picks.
Oh yeah,
and did something with it. Well, and before you show me what happened, let me just say, before I don't even want to look.
All right, you didn't see it. All right, yeah, you didn't see.
If I were T-Rock and I was comfortable with moving 2 first rounders, I think I would have tried to go after some different assets. I don't know if Mike Evans, DeAndre Carter, and Christian Kirk would be the targets that I would be utilizing those first round picks on. I would have explored some different options. I would have explored Mike Evans. I've got a tier. I call it a lot of name, not a lot of game. Like Mike Evans has got a big name, not a lot of game right now. Just keeping it real. He has not been good this season. So I don't think I would have used those first round assets on those 2 wide receivers, but I want to see what Mike ended up doing with them.
All right. So man, let me pull this up, man. And this is what Mike does, man. He's going to 4D some stuff. He's going to talk his little junk. He's going to go right back at T-Rock. So here's what we got, man. He basically sends all those picks we just talked about with his 25 first and his 25 third to go ahead and land Trevor Lawrence, who's far more valuable in a best ball setting like this than any of those receivers. I like Christian Kirk quite a bit, but we were talking about Evans getting older. Gabe Davis, honestly, as much as Mike and I both hate Gabe Davis, he's a perfect best ball guy because he tends to be boom or bust. And then A.J. Dillon's a guy, like, what's funny is Mike is out here getting these guys we talk shit about a lot, Gabe Davis and A.J. Dillon. But
the
really,
old pump and dump. Pump and dump.
Mike knows what he's doing, man. He does a lot of this little pump and dump stuff, but he picks up A.J. Dillon and Gabe Davis, who he's not that high on, so he can get T-Law. So basically when I'm looking at this in a 4D chess mindset, Ray, he takes all those picks from T-Rock, adds a 25 first and a 25 third to go from Chris. So he basically adds a first and a third to go from Christian Kirk, Mike Evans, and DeAndre Carter to Trevor Lawrence, best player in the deal when we talk best players in the deal, right? Gabe Davis, like 1-for-1 versus Mike Evans is probably not that big of a deal. And A.J. Dillon's definitely worth more than DeAndre Carter. So, like, what are your thoughts here when you look at the 4D side of it?
Mike worked the system. I think he did a great job. And he got, a quarterback that a lot of Dynasty gamers weren't really patient on, wanted to call him a bust after 1 year with Urban Meyer. There's no doubt about it. The best player in this deal is Trevor Lawrence. Again, I couldn't care any less about the 25 picks. So I'm not even looking at him. Mike doesn't care. I'll tell you right now, he doesn't care about the 25 picks at all. They mean absolutely nothing to him. So in my mind, he essentially traded that 23 first, 24 first, and a bunch of junk and got Trevor Lawrence, A.J. Dillon, and Gabe Davis. That's a smash. Mike worked this beautifully. I legitimately, Adam, those 25 picks mean absolute nothing to me. I wouldn't trade you T-Law for a late 23 first and a late projected probably 24 first. I wouldn't do that, let alone give A.J. Dillon and Gabe Davis on top of it. Mike smashed this trade, man. This is a smash.
Yeah, and I think that's the best and easiest way to describe it is he basically took – and I like first a lot, and we talk about value a lot on the show, and I've talked about how at times I will go get a 25 first. But if I'm going to go get a 25 first now, it's going to be for players that don't really deserve a first in value. There's people up there that deserve a first in value in best ball, in particular one that deserves multiple firsts. So I'm with you. That asset is recoupable. And this is a smash. And as you can see here, Mike, real flexing, putting, I want you to put the word out there that we back up. And all of a sudden, he's now back in the mix. And we'll see what happens, man, in the playoffs. But it's going to be an interesting one to track because of this deal. So that's what you have there for those two. All right, getting into another one here, Ray. We got a start 11. This is a lineup, and it's contending for Kilmo, who's one of our patron members. So Kilmo's receiving Amon-Ra St. Brown, who is proving a lot of people wrong. Man, dude's a stud. And he's also receiving Devin Singletary. He's sending away Drake London, which is, like, on a contender, I get sending him away, but, man, I really still want Drake a lot in Dynasty long term. And Calvin Ridley, who's, like, both of these arrows could go significantly different next year, but they're not doing anything much for you right now. So, and the fourth is whatever. So it's Devin Singletary, Amon-Ra St. Brown are being acquired for Calvin Ridley, Drake London, 23 fourth. What do you think here, Ray, man?
Yeah, this is at first value, I'm like, oh yeah, Ridley, Drake London. But I think the Singletary, Amon-Ra St. Brown side did a great job on this trade, because as much as I love Big Drizzy Drake, if we're in a startup, I don't know where those two are going. I have not done a traditional startup in I don't know how long. But Amon-Ra St. Brown's the best player in this deal, and there's no doubt about it. I don't care if J-Mo comes back. He's the one. He's the alpha in that offense. He's a target share monster. He's a hog. They utilize him in the red zone. And then he gives you – what I love about Amon-Ra is he gets that occasional carry or two a game that adds up over the course of the season. Devin Singletary, for as much as he's been shat on by the community, when they give him the ball, he looks good, and he's on a good team. So I think as a serviceable replacement level running back, you can get those spot starts from Devin Singletary. I don't know what Ridley's going to be when he comes back. I guess pretty good, but he's going on an offense that's got weapons, and they're probably going to continue to add through the draft. I could care less about the fourth.
Right.
Give me Amon-Ra St. Brown and Devin Singletary as the contender. I love London, but one for one, like if I'm keeping it funky with you, I'm probably taking Amon-Ra St. Brown over Drake London in the startup.
Well, it's interesting, man, because like all of us, we haven't really done startups in a long time, and that's kind of what makes the startup value talk that we do all throughout the offseason. It gets convoluted once the season starts going, man, because you don't have startup data to track shit. You got to just make values on your own and feel. But, Ray, I don't know if you're aware. I think you are. We did do one patron startup mid-season here, and based on the data here, it's hilarious because he did go ahead, but it's by one pick. 305, Amon-Ra St. Brown, 306, Drake London. So I think for me on a contender, there are times where you maybe have to forgo a guy like Drake London's value. When I'm getting Amon-Ra, who's still young in his own right, and we're seeing is really good. So like that pivot to me is a win on a contender for sure. Calvin Ridley is one of these where, like, we'll see. His value may take a nice little bump here in the offseason, but I don't know how good he's going to be next year. He's getting older. Devin Singletary is not a guy I love, but he is one of these guys, if you're playing heavy wide receiver type team, where you can press the button on a Singletary and still get replacement level points. Personally, I like it a lot for Kilmo. I do understand if you're Benzie 1985 going ahead and making this trade for London, but I almost think as a contender, and I'm imagining the trade deadline's coming up, you might have been able to get a little more trying to come off Amon-Ra St. Brown, which wasn't essential for you to move Amon-Ra. So, interesting deal there, man.
I really like Amon-Ra, though, man. I really do. I think he's even better than people are giving him credit for. I still think there's a little bit of a knock on him because they're like, oh, when J-Mo comes back, is he the one? It's Amon-Ra St. Brown. Like, it's going to be, by the time Jameson Williams is on the field, healthy, playing like himself, Amon-Ra will have been the guy for a year and a half. He's not going away. So I think when it's all said and done, man, I think the market won't fully correct until probably like midway through next season. But I think Amon-Ra, I think that's the side of the deal. Like 9 times out of 10, I'd rather have that side of the deal.
I agree. On a rebuild, I can understand the other side, but I don't think like you got anything great as a rebuild either. So the thing about Amon-Ra, especially real quick before we get to this next trade, is for me, like how long are we going to do the someone's going to come and get this guy out of the way deal? We said it all offseason, people, right? Like it didn't happen. Hawk was there before J-Mo, Chark, all these guys. Jameson Williams is one guy. Hawk's gone. I mean, I don't understand at this point how you don't see Amon-Ra St. Brown is a true alpha, man. Like, I honestly, I don't know what you need if you don't think that's the case right now. So,
I don't know, man. I don't know.
And rant, but all right. We got a 12 team Superflex start 10 lineup league here, Ray. The Who's, our boy Blitz in Discord.
Wow.
This is a big boy deal here, Ray. I'm very curious to get your thoughts on this one. So he's acquiring Stephon Diggs, Jamal Williams, and DeAndre Swift. So the Lions backfield, as well as the 106/107 in the 23 class. That pick's all right. It may not be quite as much as we thought it might be, in the preseason. But he's sending away what, by some people's standards, an untradeable asset in Justin Jefferson, man, who's – listen, man, all the stuff we said in the summer, we're wrong on, all right? We've moved on. Justin Jefferson's a damn GOAT, all right? So, Ray, what do you think, man?
I love Justin Jefferson. He is a BAM tier player for me. My BAM tier is by any means necessary. You acquire that asset. There's only a select few players in that category. Stephon Diggs is not BAM tier, but he's in the tier right below it. He's tier 1. He's a tier 1 wide receiver for me. He's still relatively young as far as NFL age. You're getting DeAndre Swift, Jamal Williams, and you're getting at worst the 107 in 2023. This is the type of offer that if you have Justin Jefferson, I don't care how much you love him, how much you like him, you got to listen to this. And I don't think you just listen. If I'm tearing down from Jefferson to Diggs, I want something very good on top of it. Mm-hmm. And I don't know how much better it gets than Swift. Say what you want. It hasn't been a great season. It hasn't been, the season that we all expected, but he's still DeAndre Swift. He still holds name value. And even if you don't like the player, he does have enough market love that you can go trade him if you don't like him, right? Mm-hmm. To get Swift, Williams, Diggs, and a top half, first round pick in 2023, I think the Who's crushed this one. This is a haul for Justin Jefferson. I'm in favor of having those elite wide receivers, but there's no way I'm turning down this package if somebody sent me this for Jefferson. I love him. So long, sweet prince. You got to go.
Yeah, man. In the words of Eric Vanek, Justin Jefferson, I'm going to help you pack your bags because it's time to get up out of here. I know in start 10, right? In a lineup start 10 league, you want to have studs, and there's a security of Jefferson being probably wide receiver 1 for at least another year, if not longer. He's a freak. He's unbelievable. But and obviously the issue with Diggs is not that he's not going to help you right now. It's how long until he cliffs. I still think he's got another couple years, right? Do you think he's got at least 2 more years as a wide receiver 1?
Absolutely. At minimum 2 more years. Minimum.
And honestly, for me, if I think about my team in Dynasty, if I know that I have 2 more years of you in this same tier as far as production, I make a lot of moves in 2 years. I feel okay knowing that I am losing Jefferson, but I have a wide receiver 1 back for a couple years in Diggs. Then you're getting the pair of the Lions backfield. Now, I don't know when he made this deal, if it was before the Sunday game or after, but Jamal Williams has been awesome all year. He's been getting goal line work. DeAndre Swift did finally out-carry him and out-touch him. It'll be interesting to see how it goes, but you got both. 106, 107 is a pick for me that in this class, say what you want about this class, what you feel about the quarterbacks, the fact that Boutte hasn't come out, all this stuff. I want 106 and 107 because I know from the entire offseason that is going to be a pick that everybody wants. I think this is too much to not let Jefferson go, and I understand for people that don't want to trade him away, but not for this. This is where I will send him away. There are deals with it's too light. This one I think is too much for Jefferson. I'll let him go.
Yeah, this is that's a haul. That is you're getting a premium young asset in the pick. You're getting 2 usable running backs right now, one of which is still valued as a top 10 at worst Dynasty running back, and you're still getting a top 6 Dynasty wide receiver, top 8 Dynasty wide receiver in Diggs.
Yeah.
I hate to see Jefferson go, and I understand 10 teams, but you're plugging Diggs in immediately. You're plugging Swift and or Jamal into your lineup immediately, and even if you don't want that pick will accrue value. You could ship it off and try to get something else later down the line. It's a flexible asset, a liquid asset. I love that deal.
I do too. You know what? Real quick, I want to touch on that because I think the way you just said that makes me think about this. It's such a good point, especially when we're only starting 10. I think where people get confused on deals like this is the plethora and what plethora works. So what you just said is perfect. Like, none of these assets that you're acquiring here are roster cloggers. Nothing that you got here is going to like hinder how you're going to do your lineup in a start 10 lineup. These assets all work really well. And like you said, the 106, 107 is insulated value. So to me, this one, I'm taking the other side. So let's get into another one here, Ray. We got a 12-team Superflex. This is a best ball, and this is a contender. I don't know if this was made before or after the injury.
What are we doing? What are we doing here?
Here's the thing, man. If that is a late second, like in best ball, I want a lot of seconds. I want all these assets. But when you tell me it's 209 to 212, I will forego that on a contender faster than shit. Jimmy G to Geno Smith, even if Jimmy G's healthy, that's an upgrade, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I mean, when you look at warp data in all your leagues, Geno Smith is going to make the top 50 and Jimmy G is not. Yes. That is worth the 209 and 212 to me. I don't care what the format is. You could take all this text away. I don't know. Like, I honestly, a lot of times I like to try to defend the other side just from a fun point of like, all right, I see what he's doing here. I don't understand this one, man.
This had to have happened before he broke his ankle. There's no other explanation as to why Hagrath or whatever his name is accepted this deal or proposed this trade. This had to have been. And here's the thing, man. Like when shit like this happens in Dynasty, man, you make deal. I remember, Adam, I traded for Gus Edwards, and I'm not exaggerating. 52 seconds before he tore his ACL.
I'm in that league.
Like literally, I made the trade, and people were like, "Did you really just do that? Did you not see the news?"
There was less than 5 minutes for sure from when you pressed the button to when I found out that had happened, and you're like, "There's no way."
Sometimes you just got to eat the L. And this is one where I know what he was thinking. In his mind, he's like, all right, I'm tearing down off of Geno, but I'm getting a pick. It just didn't work out, man. This is just not good. This is one where you just, as soon as Jimmy Garoppolo gets healthy, you try to trade him. Like, you just eat the L for right now. Good job for Go Devil getting Geno Smith in this one.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I don't think there's a lot to talk about other than, let me just ask you this real quick from your perspective, not necessarily to the trade, but to the players long term. Because I think on the contending side right now, there's no debate. It's Geno over Jimmy. This is all this conversation, everybody watching. This is while Jimmy's healthy. All right, so let's just say that's the case. Jimmy versus Geno next year, Ray. Like, I think they're both starters next year. Do you agree?
I do.
And then is there, like, what is the difference for you in best ball? Like, do you think Geno can continue this level of play moving forward? Is he a secure asset? And is Jimmy in a new situation worth much without all the players they have in Frisco?
What I like about Geno, and the reason why I would prefer Geno over Jimmy Garoppolo, is Jimmy's going to be on a new team, learn a new system, learn a new offense, new weapons. I know that the Seattle Seahawks trust what Geno Smith is now. I love his weapons. The offensive front is good, and Seattle's going to have multiple picks in this draft, and they've done a great job over the past couple of years of utilizing those assets. So while they may be relatively close here, I think their long-term insulation is probably about the same. They probably both have a 2-3 year window as being the guy on their team, and then they're probably just a backup quarterback after that. So give me the guy that I that's tethered to DK Metcalf, that's tethered to Tyler Lockett, that has a coaching staff and a running game and 2 bookend tackles. Give me that guy over the uncertainty of what I'm getting out of Jimmy Garoppolo in the future.
I like that. I'm 1,000% with you. And last thing I'll say is, like, it's hard to think of an asset, a player that accrued more value so unseen than did Geno Smith this year. I mean, where he was being drafted in startups to what he's done all year in production, and people basically saying it's going to eventually end, to what he's worth now. For you to be able at this point to acquire him for Jimmy G in a late second, hell of a deal, man. We got one here. There's a lot of yellow text going on here, right? We got a 12-team start 12. It's a Superflex, and he's rebuilding. So Liebert is getting a late 24 second and he's getting his 23-second back, which is early. I know Liebert, man, he's in a bunch of leagues. I know this is probably going to be 201 if he's saying it this way. So if you're going 201 in a late 24-second for Goff, Superflex rebuild, what are your thoughts here? This is a starting lineup league too.
It's a lineup league. Right now, we're currently doing our 100th rookie mock right now in Destination Devy.
Yes,
and
sir.
the 201 was Marvin Mims, wide receiver out of Oklahoma. Right before that was Kendre Miller, running back out of TCU. And right after Mims was Jalen Hyatt, the receiver from Tennessee. So just giving you a range of the caliber of player that's going to be there with that pick potentially. From everything that I'm hearing and the tea leaves that I'm gathering, is Detroit is not interested in a quarterback early, that they're fine with Jared Goff. I think Jared Goff is fine. He's a serviceable. He's actually, with Ben Johnson as the offensive coordinator, I believe the Lions have one of the better offenses in the NFL, and that's being operated by Jared Goff. It's super flex. It's a quarterback. I'm telling you right now, Adam, I do not believe that I would be trading Jared Goff for a late 24 second and an early 23 second round pick. I think I would rather hold Jared Goff right now. This is a move that, here's my thing with deals like this. These are trades that you can make in the team receiving Goff. I'm going to assume they're trying to contend, but this is a trade that you can make later. I'm not giving up. I just don't want those picks at this point in time. I'd rather have Jared Goff on my roster than those two picks.
Let me ask you this real quickly, because I'm actually with you, especially from the Superflex mindset in a lineup league, especially. Ray, in best ball, I think Superflex quarterbacks hold immense value in Superflex. I don't care if it's best ball lineup or whatever. But in best ball, there is scenarios where it seems like you can get them a little lighter depending on how many people you're starting in best ball. But what I've seen, especially in lineup leagues, man, versus best ball, is to just get a quarterback. I'm talking even Jared Goff range and up. It is hard to get those type of players when you're not sending any type of quarterback back, period. Now, what I'll say is two things. One, I don't think you're getting a quarterback that we can project at all at 201 that matters.
It's not happening. It's
Right.
not happening.
Is there any – okay, so two things. Is there any quarterback in your mind that could get middling draft capital or late first draft capital that could be here? And then
No.
two, okay, so if that's no, is there any chance for you that 201 in a startup is going ahead or near Goff?
Again, I have not done a traditional startup in I don't know how long, so I don't know where the hell the pick would be.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you right now, the quarterbacks that get first round draft capital this year, they're going top 10.
Right.
All of them, all
Yes.
four of them.
Right.
After that, your next best quarterback option is Bo Nix. In this class, he's going to be QB5 for most. He's your next best quarterback option at 201. I just don't like my personal philosophy in Dynasty is if I give a quarterback, I'm getting one back, and I don't care what the back quarterback is. I'm getting Jacoby Brissett back. I'm getting Bailey Zappi back. I'm getting Tyler Huntley. If I'm giving away a starting quarterback, here's the thing: Jared Goff is one of the 32 best starting quarterbacks in the NFL. Period. I don't care how you feel about him long term. He's one of the best 32 quarterbacks in the NFL, and he's going to have a job next year. I'm not moving him for a late 20. I'm Devy all day. I can't name you 23 guys in 2024 right now. So I don't even know who's going to be back there.
Right.
I don't care right now.
That's the piece that doesn't mean a whole lot to me. Like, I like getting seconds, man. I like getting leverage and all that. But if you're telling me you think this is late, like, that's not a piece in this deal that I'm overly excited about, especially in a lineup league. I think I agree with what you're saying here. I will say this, man. In a startup right now, Jared Goff went that we just did at 909. This is in best ball. And I'll say this, man. When I think about a few things, one, the quarterbacks that are coming in and how gross, like how few of them there are and how gross the quarterback landscape is, Jared Goff's a quarterback I actually do want on teams.
Yes. Yes.
I know we called him Diaper Genie and I traded him away at times, but man, if I have Jared Goff right now, I'm not selling him unless you're giving me a first or a quarterback that I think is at least in the same tier and a plus. Otherwise, I'll just hold my Jared Goff. Even on a rebuilder, I don't know, man. I get what he's trying to do. I get what he's trying to do. I get what Lieber's trying to do here. And maybe there's a plan he has in place with leverage and all that. But for me, I think even though it's your pick and you probably are worried about not having it, I'd rather just have Goff. So, all right, 12-team Superflex lineup, Ray. Christian Kirk, we just talked about it. So basically one piece of that Mike deal with T-Rock, 23 first. So here's basically what you got when you read this. Hopefully 112. He's acquiring Christian Kirk on a team he feels really good about and thinks this could be a late first that ends up as the 112. Contender, are you willing to do this?
Yeah, I'm okay with it. I'm okay with getting Christian Kirk. I like Christian Kirk. Good offense. I mean, at least as far as passing, they got a quarterback that's going to throw the ball around. I like Christian Kirk, man. I would hope it's the 112. Like, what if it doesn't work out and it's like the 109? Like, I'd probably rather have the 109 over Christian Kirk. But if it's 110, 111, 112, again, we're in a rookie mock right now, and I'll just tell you, at 9 was Quentin Johnston, wide receiver from TCU. At 10 was Will Levis from Kentucky. I made that selection. Then it was Sean Tucker and Kendre Miller. That rounded out the first round. I would rather have Quentin Johnston over him. I'd rather have Will Levis over him. And I would rather have Christian Kirk over Sean Tucker and Kendre Miller. So if it's truly going to be 111, 112, I'm fine with that.
I'm actually – so giving the names is always good because a couple things here for me. If it is 112, actually, like if you end up, like if this hopefully becomes no and it's 112, this is easy. I think for me, I would need to know, like, are you pretty locked into a buy? Because if you're locked into a buy, it's 109, which then, like, at the worst case scenario, you might lose a little bit of value, but it's not going to be horrible. I definitely am with you. I want Quentin Johnston over Christian Kirk today, even knowing how good Christian Kirk's been. If you are not locked into a buy, and this has a chance for 107-ish, I probably wouldn't even do this, man.
Yeah.
I think that's the big thing for me is where this pick is. Will Levis for me, I think could be close as long as like go ahead and say what you're going to say, and then also where are you secure? Like, do you feel pretty good about Will Levis being first round pick?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Like a first round NFL draft pick?
Correct. Yes.
I've got more conviction that he's probably going to be top 15 than back 15.
Okay, so if that's the case, then I also want Will Levis ahead of Christian Kirk. So I'm with you. Anything 111, 112, I'm good with. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Say what you were going to say.
No. I was just going to say, you make this deal. I'm again. You better hope it is 111, 112. You know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, if you feel really good about your team and you think this could help give you A, depth, or B, a decent upgrade at that last flex spot to go win it, I get the move. I'm all for it. If you're KS Davis, I kind of also get it. Like, let me just see if this team doesn't quite make exactly what I think it's going to. And if I can get a Quentin Johnston, I'm good with it. I think this deal makes a lot of sense for both sides. And I think if you're convicted on your team, go ahead and go do this, man.
I like this for both sides. I like that for both sides, man.
I do too.
Oh, God.
Here we go,
boy.
man. We got a gross one.
Boy.
All right, so here. So before you judge everything, everybody watching, because
I'm judging right now.
I know Ray is, and I know everybody watching is, and I know when I first saw this deal, I was too. This is a 12-team Superflex tight end premium best ball. It is a start 13, and it is a start 2 tight end, and it's a contender.
How does that change the fact that give me Gerald Everett 100 out of 100 times? What did that context do to make me want to?
Here's the thing. That was only for one person watching, and that's Zach, who loves him some Khalil Herbert, because everybody else wants the Gerald Everett side no matter what. Like, even if you told me it's not 2 tight ends, Khalil Herbert is a guy that I think is – I liked him. I understood the fun with Khalil Herbert. I understand that he's, he played well when given the opportunity, but Montgomery never really ceded him the job. The 5th is absolutely worthless.
Worthless. It actually hurts your having picks like that actually are more detrimental to your roster than just fucking cut, because they're just filled with roster cloggers. You don't even want 4th and 5th rounders. I mean, when I say nothing, I'd rather have Fab over a 5th round rookie pick.
Well, I would definitely rather have Fab, but I think here's the only thing that this is the only reason I would ever say that I'd want a 5th is if I can see deals like this where I can send a 5th as it's actually worth something. Like, if I can send a 5th and you'll take it as value, fine. 5ths to me are – I'd be okay if I played in leagues where 5ths weren't there and you just let them go to waivers and you figure out who the hell you want to take your shot on, to be completely honest. this is before the 2 tight end thing, man. 2 tight end, Gerald Everett. Like I'm talking about this side potentially, even if Khalil Herbert's healthy. If it's 2 tight end,
is this a 2 tight end league?
Yes, bro. This is
This
a
is
two.
a 2
12-team Superflex tight end premium best ball. Start 13, 2 tight end.
What are we doing? Like, in what world would you do that? Like, in what world would you trade for a backup running back?
I don't know, man. Like, and I know Khalil Herbert showed well sometimes this year, and maybe you think Khalil Herbert's going to be okay next year, but I'm so unsure of what's going to happen in Chicago. I don't think Montgomery will come back on a deal because I don't think they're going to pay him, but like I don't know that Khalil Herbert's going to have the backfield.
He's not going to have the backfield.
No, man. And so then you got like Gerald Everett to me in a 2 tight end league, man. Like we've seen Gerald Everett, even though he wasn't with Herbert last year, still have some weeks in Seattle. Like even if he's going to another team, he's a highly athletic tight end that's only 28. And in 2 tight end leagues, you need all those dudes. Like if this is 1 tight end, I want Gerald Everett. In this format, J-Cap, man, I know you watch the show. You're one of our boys, one of our OG patron listeners, but man, I'm not doing this at all in this league, dude. All right, man. Last deal of the day.
This is it.
This
I
is
just
man.
feel like we're just getting warmed. Okay, well, when we finish this up, I'm going to give you a trade that I made.
Oh yeah, yeah.
You're going to analyze it and tell me.
Yes,
Right?
do that. Yes, let's do that,
All right.
please. All right. So here we go, man. We got Corey Schumer, one of our boys, patrons over there. We got Corey getting Ezekiel Elliott and Chris Godwin. He's sending away Brandon Ayuk and Calvin Ridley. He says this is a Superflex start 11 tight end premium, and it's a lineup league. So knowing that, Ezekiel Elliott and Chris Godwin or Calvin Ridley and Brandon Ayuk.
Yeah. Best player in the deal is Chris Godwin. So I'd lean that side first and foremost, in my opinion. Some people may argue it's Ayuk, but I
like Ayuk, but I will admit that Godwin I was mostly worried about with the injury, and he did have a scare early, but he's starting to look fine. I will take Godwin over Ayuk. I love Ayuk. Very high on Ayuk, but I will still take Godwin over him.
I do too. And Ayuk is the 1B. If Godwin's the 1A in this deal, Ayuk is the 1B.
Agreed.
Let's just look at those as lateral moves, right?
Deal. Yep.
Comes between Zeke and Calvin Ridley.
Okay.
And for as much shit Ezekiel Elliott gets, all he does is go out there and get 15 to 19 touches per week and run well and fall in the end zone and split work with Tony Pollard, and he's still usable. You're still starting Zeke every single week, and he's the type of running back that you will continue to, as long as he wants to play football, he's going to be a guy that can just absorb carries every single week.
Grinder. Yep.
Grinder. He's going to be the guy that, we look up 2 years from now and we're just like, how the hell is Zeke still getting 10 touches a game? Like, how's this happening?
You're gonna hate when you see him running in the open field, but he's gonna get touches, he's gonna get goal line touches, and you're gonna be like, man, he's still somewhat relevant. I think what you said first was hilarious, is like, as much shit as he gets in the community, he gets that much shit on the field. He gets the ball. Like, he still is someone, for as gross as you think he is, he gets a bunch of opportunities and a lot of goal line work, and that's with Pollard playing really well, man. So
listen, I just want to give the raw numbers for Zeke on a down year. He's still 15th in the league in carries, 17th in yards. I don't know where he's at points per game. Let me take a look at where he's at points per game really quickly. Let me pull this up. Zeke Elliott, points per game.
I bet you it's better than people think.
He's an RB2. He's 13 points per game. He's giving you 20. He's RB21 on the season, points per game. And inside of this season, he has produced, let's go through RB1 weeks. He's giving you 1, 2, 3, 4 of his last 5 weeks. He's been an RB1.
Damn.
4 of his last 5 weeks, he's been a top 12 running back. And the 1 week that he wasn't top 12, it was versus the Giants, and he was RB15 with 16.5 points in that game. So
that's really good these last 5 weeks, man.
And that's just Zeke. That's who he's going to be, right? The snap share is down, but he's still literally, I mean, in that span, 17 carries, 16, 15, 15, 13. He also had a couple of targets, a reception, 3 receptions. I want the Zeke side. I say all of that to say I have no clue what Calvin Ridley is next year. And if I like Calvin Ridley, if I'm a truther on Ridley, I can buy him back. I think I want Zeke and Chris Godwin. Adam, I think this may be controversial. This may be a take that people don't like. And here's the thing with running backs like Zeke, running backs like I think Alvin Kamara is starting to approach that territory. I think David Montgomery's kind of in that range. Dalvin Cook is in that range. When you trade for them or if you draft them in a startup, you just have to be aware that they're probably just on your roster. Like they're just there. Like there's nothing that Zeke can do at this point in his career to where he's going to regain some high market value sentiment. It's just not going to happen. Like
1,000%.
He can go run for 2,000 yards and people would be like, outlier year, he's old. I don't care. So for if you acquire Zeke or if you draft him in a startup or you purchase him in an auction, just be prepared. Like this dude's going to die on my roster. And I think I'm fine with Zeke and Chris Godwin, man. Give me Zeke and Chris Godwin as much. I'm a big Ayuk truther as well. I don't know what Ridley is. I have no clue besides a name right now. Just besides a name on a team that's probably going to draft another pass catcher that has Zay Jones, that has Travis Etienne, that has Christian Kirk. I think I'd want Zeke and Chris Godwin in this one.
So here's the way I'm looking at this. Where first of all, I agree that I want that other side. I want Schumer's side here. I think what you hit on, man, is something I've kind of been talking about recently, and I think is so true. And it's in differing levels for a lot of different people. Everybody, depending on the position, depending on what they're doing for your lineup, will get to a point where their production is worth more to your team than they are ever going to be worth in dynasty value and in a trade. Like Zeke, it's not the sexiest one of that type, but that's where he's at for me. Like if I have Zeke, the only way I'm trading him away is if my team is a gutter dumpster rebuild and I just have to get off him because him dying on my roster will not help me at all. Here's the thing. If I look at the other side and I try to defend it, right, it would be the Ridley for Elliott thing. And it's not because that Ridley's going to necessarily be a surefire asset. It's that in the summer, maybe he's going ahead of Zeke. I'm not even sure that that's the case. But I guess if you're going to try to play that narrative up in your head, I could see that part of it. But then when I say it doesn't work for me is I love Ayuk, man. But I think the days of him having this really heavy market value are over. It happened a couple years ago, right, when he was coming off his rookie year and people were really projecting heavily with him. I think he's good, but I don't think he's going to go ahead of Chris Godwin in any startups. So you lose out there what you're trying to gain back in a projection in Calvin Ridley for me. Even if you're trying to go rebuild type mindset, Godwin's not old. If you wanted to pivot from Godwin to Ayuk, I get it, but I'm not doing that. I'm not doing this type of deal here. I think that's where this one is a win there. Ray, what do you got, man, on your deal? Go ahead.
Well, let me say one more thing about the Ridley deal. There's one other aspect of it that if you trade for Ayuk and Ridley, and in your mind, and I always say have a plan. Anytime you make moves, you should always have a plan. I don't care if it's the Zeke side, the Ridley side, the side that got all those picks from Mike. Like, have a plan.
Yeah.
And if I were the side that acquired Calvin Ridley and Brandon Ayuk, my plan would be, okay, I really don't know what Ridley's going to be. I'm not sure what type of producers he's going to be, but I'm going to bank on the fact that once he's running around in pads out there with Trevor Lawrence and the hype videos start coming, that I'll be able to take that Ridley share and trade him for more than I can Ezekiel Elliott, right? So if you just look at Ayuk and Godwin as a lateral move, the reality is, as much as we don't know what Ridley is, I'm going to assume, and I'm just going to go out on a limb and say, once he's back catching passes and they're showing hype videos of him and T-Law, he's going to have more market value than Ezekiel Elliott will. And at that point, if your play is, I'm going to sell Ridley at that point, like then fine, just have a plan. So I don't hate the Ridley side. If I'm contending right now, it's Zeke and Chris Godwin, right? Yeah. If I'm rebuilding, I'm not looking at Ridley as a key asset to my team long term, but I do like the fact that he's going to have more market value and I could probably trade him for more than I can Zeke.
And last point that we hadn't made yet, which I think needs to be said, is I don't know if actually, you know what I do? I pulled this trade today. The big thing I think here that we haven't touched on, which I just thought of, is Brandon Ayuk now for the rest of your season has Brock Purdy throwing him the football. And I didn't love what I saw in their rapport. Chris Godwin, as much as Tom Brady and that offense doesn't look great, he's getting a bunch of targets. I do feel better about him rest of the season than Ayuk by a good bit. I'm with you, though. Like, I do think Ridley will go for more than Zeke in the offseason. I think that's a lot because of what we haven't seen from Ridley in the last couple of years and what we think he can be. You may be able to flip that for a profit. So, Ray, what's your deal, man?
Okay, and you gotta shoot me straight here, Adam.
Listen, man, I ain't gonna bullshit you. I'm not bullshitting anybody on this trade show.
Okay,
And I'll tell you this too. I've had some terribly wrong views, but what I will not do is bullshit or sugarcoat anything. So tell me what you got, man.
All right. 14 team, best ball, Superflex, all kind of premiums, 25-man rosters. It's our Royal Rumble League. I don't know how many we start in there. What do we start? 12? We're starting there. 13?
I think it's 11.
11? Start 11.
Mm-hmm.
All right, 14 teams, Superflex, best ball, start 11. I am a marginal contender, right? I'm in the playoffs, not super strong, but want to make a push, but also trying to leverage out some stuff for the future. Okay?
Right. Thinking both sides,
Have to set the scene up, okay? I have Zonovan Knight on this roster. I was able to get Bam Knight. Got Bam Knight on this roster. I've just got to set that tone.
Yeah.
I traded away Michael Carter.
Okay.
All right. Wan'Dale Robinson.
Okay.
And Jerry Jeudy.
For Bam Knight. Yep.
No. I just have Bam Knight.
I know it ain't just Bam Knight. I'm just
No. I didn't trade. No, I have Bam Knight already. Bam Knight wasn't a part of the deal. I had Carter and Bam Knight and James. I had the whole Jets backfield.
I got you.
James
All right, so
Robinson, Bam Knight, and Carter.
So it's Jeudy, Carter, Wan'Dale.
All
right.
And I received a early 23 third rounder, not great, and Isiah Pacheco. Talk to me, Adam.
I want Pacheco most in the deal for sure. I'll take him over Jeudy. I'll tell you this much, man. For what you're doing in those settings, because we're only having 25-man rosters, I want your side, actually. I'll say this because especially with knowing what you're doing and where Pacheco's looking, I actually want Pacheco over all the other players in the deal. I'll say on the value side, I bet you a lot of people think the other side because Jeudy has this first-round draft capital, Alabama name value. If he's going to stay in Denver and Russ ain't going anywhere, I don't know what the hell you want out of Jerry Jeudy. He maybe gives you a couple weeks in best ball. Wan'Dale was a good story, but he gets hurt. Like, I don't know.
Torn ACL. He's out. He's out.
I just mean that
next year's probably done. Next year's probably done too.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
and then
as great as the story is, for Wan'Dale is, I don't care about Wan'Dale in a league like this. Carter, I think, is where people might pause. For me, he's not going to be anything this year. For Michael Carter, in my mind, is over. So if you're telling me on a contender, all I'm really losing in my mind is Jerry Jeudy, and I don't value that highly, Michael Carter. I guess on a best ball team like this, you want him, but given what
understand. I've got Zonovan Knight on my bench and James Robinson. I already got the Jets backfield, so
he's gone.
I lose.
I think this is a savvy move as a contender, and I'll tell you what this does for me is it's interesting. My brain's churning because I think I've thought this a few times in the Royal Rumble, and this is sometimes where the best ball thing I think can be exploited here, where when you're starting 11 and you're rostering 25, like it's a big difference from some of these leagues that we do over on South Harmon where it's start 14, 15 and we're rostering 40, right? Like when you're rostering 25, man, that waiver wire is a lot better and you don't have to care as much about the dog shit down like that. Sending away Carter and Wan'Dale is replaceable. I'm sure you're going to find a way to 4D that third into something it shouldn't be. So give me Pacheco over Jeudy when I think about it straight up. On the rebuilder, I guess I see.
You're taking Pacheco over Jeudy. You're taking Pacheco over Jeudy. You feel good about Pacheco. You love you some running backs.
I do because here's the thing. It's a good offense, and we know Clyde Edwards-Helaire ain't it no more. Like, no. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, it was fun for you guys that thought it was cool this whole start of the year when it was all touchdowns. He doesn't get the work. Pacheco's the guy that gets a lot of the work. He doesn't get a bunch of pass-catching work, but an offense like that, I think Pacheco can help you win if you're close. I'm not a Jeudy guy though. If you're a Jeudy guy, fine. But like, when do you not become a Jeudy guy? There's no quarterback. We haven't seen shit. It's all still projection. I don't know. That's my take on Jeudy. I think too is I'm comfortable moving him. Like,
okay.
What are your thoughts? Do you think it was a little heavy? Did it feel not right for you? Like, I want to know your side too.
I think that sometimes in Dynasty, if you want to get a deal done, you got to make it look like somebody's really getting a win. And I think those they were perfect names. Wan'Dale Robinson, Jerry Jeudy, Michael Carter, knowing I've got Bam Knight and J-Rob.
All guys that have had success in their own points, yeah.
Right? Knowing that in a 14-team league, picks are going to be valuable. The early thirds are going to be valuable. Those seconds, those early thirds are going to have some value. And then, Adam, to be honest with you, man, I've got a little conviction that I think Pacheco is some long-term dynasty superstar? No, I don't believe that to be the case. But I do think that he's good enough and cheap enough that if he can continue this run throughout the playoffs, there's no reason why they're not going to just run it back with him for at least another year. And at the running back position, I'm playing that position 2 to 3 year window. If he can be serviceable over the next 2 to 3 years as the lead back in that offense, I think he's like a sneaky little buy right now. He's valued as a top 24 dynasty running back. And I know a lot of people like to shit on the RBs, but you still need those guys in dynasty. So if I can get a young one on a great offense that's got a lot of tread left on the tire, sign me up. I don't care about losing Michael Carter. And you know what? When Wan'Dale Robinson's ACL is a little slow coming back, I'll go. If I want him again, I can go trade for Jeudy and Wan'Dale. Give me the liquid asset in the pick and give me the running back to help me try to contend now.
1,000%, man. I'm with you too. I think that Pacheco's not going to be this guy that ever holds this crazy dynasty weight, but I think on contenders, teams in dynasty, like he's going to give you probably a 2-year window as the lead back at Kansas City, where we saw how good Kareem Hunt was in Kansas City. I'm not saying he's Kareem Hunt even, but this guy will have a ton of scoring opportunities. If he's going to get 15 plus touches in that offense, he's a guy I want on dynasty, especially in best ball when I don't have to start him weekly. So I like that deal for you, given the format and the context behind it. I know how you probably got Wan'Dale to basically be the piece that set it over the edge. When if that's just Carter and Jeudy, I don't think that deal gets done. So I like the savviness, man. Everybody, man, we appreciate you tapping into the trade show as always. Saturday morning premieres. It's always great on Saturday morning to think about trades in your leagues. That was all the trades we had in the Discord, man. So if your deadline's up, keep thinking dynasty trades, because it'll happen again pretty soon once the playoffs are over. As always, if you want your trades featured on this show, patreon.com/South Harmon. Get you in the door for $1 a month. You can show us your deals. We can put them here on the show. Ray, we appreciate you coming on the show, man, as always. One of the GOATs in the building on the 4D Chess Dynasty Trade Show. Ray, appreciate your time. Appreciate all the thoughts and insight, man, on all the deals today.
Appreciate you having me, man. Anytime.
Awesome, man. Well, we will be here same time, same place next week. We appreciate y'all. We're out of this thing. Peace.
Peace.